Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me today. Sorry I missed you on Thursday, but I had some stuff come up. Today, I've got a brand new $8 t-shirt on from Walmart with no holes in it, so I'm ready to go. So I'm going to start out today trying to get some brake lines onto the FJ. I've got to take some measurements, then I've got to go down to Idaho Falls. It's about a 30-40 minute drive. Get those brake lines made, hope they have everything to make the brake lines, and then put them on the vehicle and bleed the brakes. So I'm not making entirely new brake lines for the entire length of the vehicle. I am going to be able to reuse part of the metal lines from the factory. On the rear, the brake lines come out to the back, right behind the gas tank, right up here. So I'm going to be able to reuse these steel lines that come from the front and just run some braided soft line back and down to the axle and then out to the calipers. And then in the front, there's also metal brake line, factory metal brake line that comes out right here. On both sides, it's pretty much the same. And I'll be able to just run a line down here and down to the front calipers. I've got the axle drooped all the way down with the knuckle turned all the way to the left to give me the maximum distance here for this measurement. So it looks like I want about a 32-inch line over here on this corner. So I'll take the same measurement on the other side, and then I'll head over to my local House of Hose and see if they can make these lines for me. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that they'll have all the fittings I need. All right, I'm back from Idaho Falls. I went to my local hydraulic hose maker, and I managed to get some hoses that I'm pretty positive are going to work. But I have to say they are my Plan B hoses using kind of my backup plan parts because they didn't have any banjo fittings really to go directly to the calipers. They had like the double flare fittings, the M10 by 1, those kind of fittings, but not the banjo fittings. It's kind of impossible to get anything these days. But I managed to get some lines cobbled together. And here's what they look like. They are steel braided, so they should be pretty abrasion resistant. And yeah, they just got ends like that on them. So like I was saying, I kind of wanted to go directly from the caliper up to the vehicle fitting, but instead I'm going to have to use the Ford factory lines that come off the calipers, which isn't really a big deal, and maybe it's even better because I can pick up this stuff, you know, at any parts store across the country. So the line, my steel braided lines, are going to come off the vehicle and then go to these factory lines, so it'll work. So I've got these lines plugged in now. This is where the factory FJ Cruiser brake lines come out to the back, and these new lines will work in the same spot. And you can see this one is hooked up over here to this caliper, and then this one comes over and hooks up to that caliper. So now I just got to secure these lines to the axle because they can't be back here loose. It's kind of important not to have your brake lines get caught up on things. So I'll get those tied up. And to do that, I'll be using these rubberized clips. So I'll have to drill and tap some holes so I can put some bolts back here on the truss and get everything all tidied up back here. All right, guys. Well, I think I've got the brake lines where I want them. Here's the driver's side. Just one clip holding it there on the top of the axle. And then the passenger side, there's the lines coming down. A couple zip ties up top there. And it comes down and 2 clips. And over here on the passenger side, the one concern is this line coming too close to the coil here. I will monitor that and make any adjustments or modifications as necessary. So with the brake lines in the back done, I also took the opportunity to tie up these breather lines that were back here. The old breather for the old axles is back here. So this is the breather for the new axle. It comes off the back of the housing, and then comes up here, and then this line right here goes up to underneath the hood. And this line comes from the Atlas. This is the breather line that I put on the top of the Atlas last time. So everything's all tied together now and watertight. So now that that's all done in the back, we can move on to the front where I've got, again, factory style brake lines going to the caliper. And then it's pretty long, comes up there. And then I cut off this extra metal that was here, but I saved a little tab on there just in case I maybe wanted it. You never know. So here's where the factory metal line comes out. This is the same on both sides. Factory metal line comes out, and then I've got my short braided line. That's just gonna come down to here, and then this line is gonna come up to here, and the hole's right there. So how do I mount it up here? Well, I made some tabs that I'm gonna weld onto the frame, and that little thing on the end of the line is gonna stick through here, and then I'll use these clips to secure it on there. All right, this really looks great. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Here's the line coming down from the factory, steel line down to here. This is an absolutely rock solid connection right there with this clip. It's perfect. I really like how the line angles back, so it's gonna clear the coil over. It's being held. It naturally is gonna hold itself away from the coilover, and there's plenty of slack here for everything to go to full droop and stuff and turn the wheel and everything. So I really like that. Here's the passenger side I haven't put together yet, but I just wanted to show you just in case you didn't quite catch it. Here's the end of the hose, and this is how this works. It just goes through there, and then that little clip is able to catch the ridge and retain it in there. So I've decided that I'm not actually going to bleed the brakes at this time. Just with the amount of stuff I have left to do on the front here, I don't want to decide I have to take the brakes apart and they're bled, and I don't want to have to do it over again. So no bleeding at this time. But I'm really just glad that here in Eastern Idaho, I have access to a hydraulic line shop where they make hydraulic lines, including brake lines for vehicles, and that they had enough parts to make the brake lines well enough to get them on the vehicle. And I measured well enough so that they fit. And as always, guys, I really appreciate you joining me today. Thanks for clicking on this video. If you've been following along for a long time, thank you. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you can catch new content with me every Monday and Thursday. We'll see you next time.